Why do no coiners hate Bitcoin so much? I'm sure we've all had this experience when we've met people in real life who, when the topic of Bitcoin comes up, they become almost enraged. They hate Bitcoin. And recently I had this type of conversation with someone, and the way he phrased it was he hates Bitcoin because people get rich for doing nothing. That's very interesting that he phrased it that way. So let's look at this from the vantage point of psychology. What is Stockholm syndrome? Stockholm syndrome is when a kidnapped person comes to identify with the kidnapper, with the abuser. They can even come to sympathize and love the kidnapper or abuser. And there's reasons why this is the case. It's to do with power dynamics, and it's kind of like a psychological defense mechanism. But it's a very interesting response to being in this position of a captive by an abusive tyrant, essentially. So that's what the Stockholm syndrome is. Now, let's go back to what this person said about Bitcoin. He hates Bitcoin because people get rich for doing nothing. Isn't that exactly what the fiat system does? Those who are closest to the money printers get rich for doing nothing. Remember, there was an episode that I did regarding the morality of money and rehypothecation. I explained how with fractional reserve banking, the major commercial banks lend you money that they do not have. And then you have to pay back the principal plus interest. You have to earn every dime of it and pay it back to them, even though they never had it in the first place. They only had a fraction of it, if that. And that fraction that they had, they borrowed for 0.25% from the Federal Reserve, or whatever your domestic central bank is, which printed it out of thin air. Now that's what I call getting rich from doing no work. So it's very interesting that this person hates Bitcoin when really what he hates about it, he should be applying to the legacy financial system, to fiat currency, to central banking. He should be directing his rage, and it was a form of rage that he was channeling. He hated Bitcoin for this very reason. But it's because there's this Stockholm syndrome that is he's projecting the hatred that he perhaps intuitively or subconsciously harbors for the elites who really are enriched by a fundamentally immoral system in which they do nothing and in return they get rich. They print money and in return they get rich. They issue debt from reserves that they do not even have and they get rich. This is where his rage should be directed to, is these parasitical elites that profit off of this legacy fiat central banking system. But it is precisely that rage, for the exact reason that he should be enraged, he projects it onto Bitcoin. And here's the other reason why he does this, is he does not, it's not just him, I'm just using him as an example, but no coiners have this mentality, this self-limiting belief that compound exponential growth of your own net worth is impossible. And if it is occurring, that you are doing something criminal. Ironically, they don't apply this metric to the elites who actually do achieve exponential growth of their personal net worth by exploiting the central banking system and fiat currency and debt. So they are the ones who actually do achieve exponential growth of their personal net worth. But no coiners do not believe that's possible for themselves. For them, it's unimaginable that you could find an opportunity in this world where your net worth could grow by multiples, by orders of magnitude. It could grow exponentially. For a no coiner, that's impossible. It's a self-limiting belief. They have the mentality of, it's like a slave mentality or a peasant's mentality. Well, where there's a limiting factor that just magically makes it so that they are forever doomed to just toil for wages. There's no possibility that any opportunity could come in this world that they could take advantage of to exponentially grow their wealth. That's only for the elites, and of course they don't want to admit that, but I think subconsciously they know. But because of this bizarre Stockholm syndrome, they never direct that anger towards those parties that actually do deserve some rage to be directed towards them, who do deserve to be criticized for the methods that lead to their personal enrichment. At this point, I should just note that I am not saying that it is wrong to be rich or wealthy. And I'm not saying that just because you are a billionaire that you do not deserve to be a billionaire. There's plenty of rich and wealthy people out there who became so because they provided real value to the world and they were compensated for that in a fair value for value exchange. I have no problem with an entrepreneur becoming a billionaire if they earned it. My problem is when being close to the money spigot, it allows you to become a rent seeker. It enables you to become a useless middleman who just shuffles cheap money around in a sort of shell game and multiplies it with fractional reserve banking. That's what I'm talking about. That's the parasitical elite that I'm talking about. And also keep in mind that there is also a parasitical underclass. There is an entire underclass which is dependent upon money printing that provides no value for society or the economy. They too gain from doing nothing, from doing no work. Now, you could argue that they are simply responding to incentives. We have seen this recently with certain unemployment programs, and we have seen the dynamic where there was no incentive for these people to go work. Because if they went to go work, they would actually make less money than if they just stayed at home and had fiat money printed out of thin air and teleported right into their checking account. So there is a sense in which this underclass, which is dependent upon the fiat money printing, is simply responding to incentives. Yes, but the point is that fiat money printing money from thin air, creates both this parasitical elite class that enriches itself upon that system, and it also creates an underclass which provides no value to society or the economy, and they just live off of the residue of money printing. And both of these are problems that not only are not the fault of Bitcoin, but which Bitcoin addresses and solves. But to go back to the angry no-coiner, it's kind of ironic. For once in history, there's this opportunity where just regular, everyday citizens, workers, the backbone of the nation, the backbone of the economy, whether it's the working class whether you're washing dishes or if you're a middle class worker with a professional degree, anyone within this general range. It is one of the first times in history where these people have had an opportunity to front run the elites, and not in a way which is morally dubious, and not in a way that is exploitative of people, not in a way that is economically unsustainable. This is the first time in history that regular citizens have had an opportunity that elites have all the time. Elites are used to having opportunities where they 10x their net worth. For them, that is just to be expected. For them, they go out looking for that and they get it. For them, they are accredited investors. They are allowed to be VC angel investors, right? They are allowed to get in early into projects that regular people legally are not allowed to invest in. That's the scam of the whole accredited investor thing. It's a cap. It allows only the big players to get in early. So they're used to having these opportunities. For the first time, regular people not only have this opportunity presented to them on a silver platter, but they have it presented to them before the institutions and the big money are legally allowed to engage with this asset. There's so many institutions right now, whether it be like pension funds or there's various companies, institutions, university endowments, sovereign wealth funds. They are not allowed legally to buy something like Bitcoin yet. This is the first time where the tables have been reversed. Now it is the regular people who have first shot, and for the first time they are able to get in first before the elites. But of course, for the no-coiner, they don't see it this way because of Stockholm syndrome. They don't see it this way because in their mind, only the elites are allowed to have these type of opportunities. If a dishwasher has this opportunity, well, he's getting rich from doing nothing, and that's bad. But of course, if a billionaire has that type of opportunity because he's close to the money printer, then that's fine because he's the elites. This is Stockholm syndrome. And the really tragic part is that these no-coiners, if they don't snap out of it, if they don't snap out of their victim mentality, in which is so entrenched in their psychology that they actually identify with their abuser, they actually defend their abuser to their own detriment. If they don't snap out of this, the tragic thing is that these no-coiners, they're going to be last to Bitcoin. The institutions and the elites will get in, and they will only get in after, and it will be the elites selling to them. And it's going to be really tragic because they had this one opportunity to significantly improve their socioeconomic position, to be financially independent. And it's going right past them because they have these blinders on that just block them from even entertaining the idea that it's possible for someone to be able to take advantage of this kind of opportunity. And of course, the argument itself is faulty. The argument that someone buying Bitcoin is doing nothing. That is not the case. What you are doing is you are transferring your stored capital, your energy, your surplus labor from a crumbling, dying, exploitative system into one that is a safe haven. So it's as if you are pointing to someone on a life raft, on a lifeboat, and saying, look, you're saving yourself when you should be going down with the ship. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to criticize someone for going onto a lifeboat when the ship is sinking. And there's more room on the lifeboat. And the persons or the people on the lifeboat are screaming, "Come join me. I've been telling you to join me on the lifeboat. There's nothing stopping you. The ladder is right here. Come on down. Transfer, everything. Take everything you own. Come on to the lifeboat. There's room." But no, the no coiner stands on, on the bow of the sinking ship, criticizing those who have the foresight to get off before the ship sinks, and it's too late. That's the tragedy of the no coiner. By the time the no coiner gets into Bitcoin, much of their net worth and wealth that have been tied up in the fiat system will have, compared to Bitcoin, virtually evaporated, and perhaps in absolute terms evaporated as well. If you have heavy exposure to the fiat system and you just resolutely refuse to get some exposure into Bitcoin, well, you're going down with the ship then. And don't criticize those who have decided, who have had the foresight and taken the responsibility for their own wealth, to protect it. Don't criticize, don't say that those people are getting rich for nothing, because they're not. They are just trying to protect their own wealth. And as well, they also have identified that yes, there is this opportunity in which they can multiply their net worth by orders of magnitude. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just as there is nothing wrong with a VC investor putting their money into a project that they see potential in and 10, 20, 30xing their initial investment. No one says there's anything wrong with that. So no one says that that person is getting rich from doing nothing. Why does the same not apply to just a dishwasher who diligently saves their whatever excess money that they earn and puts it into Bitcoin? Why the double standard? Well, the Stockholm syndrome, that's why. So many people identify with this abusive relationship with the fiat currency system to the point that they defend it. They defend the very system that oppresses them. They defend the very system that keeps them from ever accumulating wealth. They defend the very system that extracts wealth and productivity and their labor, their surplus labor, extracts it from them and transfers it to a party that does not deserve it. They defend that system, but they refuse to see the irony of their criticism of people who have the foresight to get into Bitcoin. So, to the no coiner, I would say no one is getting rich from Bitcoin by doing nothing. The whole point of Bitcoin is that it requires value for value exchange. If you want Bitcoin, you have to put in value, whether you are a miner who has to input electricity, or if you're buying from the open market and you have to pay the going rate. No one accumulates Bitcoin without providing value. This is the exact opposite of the fiat system. On the Bitcoin system, everyone provides value, or you do not get your Bitcoin. And to the extent that the demand for value, the price of Bitcoin continues to go up, seemingly without end, without limit, is merely a reflection of the demand that humanity has for an economic system that is fair, an economic system that demands value for value exchange, whether you are a dishwasher or the richest man in the world. You both equally must input value in order to have Bitcoin returned to you. And to the extent that Bitcoin keeps going up, which is totally inexplicable to a no-coiner, it is merely because people are abandoning the legacy system in which the inverse is true. Extracting value without any value input. That's the base nature of the fiat currency, central banking, fractional reserve system. So stop identifying with your abuser. If you are a no-coiner, recognize that your criticism of Bitcoin, the anger, is directed where it deserves to be directed, and recognize that Bitcoin is actually is trying to liberate you from your oppressor. If you are a no-coiner, you need to wake up to the reality of the situation here. Time is not on your side anymore. The window of opportunity is closing. The ship is sinking. The life raft is there, and we are all waving at you. Get your shit. Get on board.